In the silent underbelly of our collective soul, there lurks a shadow, vast, unyielding, and forbidden. It is the echo of truths we refuse to name, the darkened room behind the polished facade of civilization where our deepest fears and desires convene in whispered conspiracy. What if the monstrous is not outside us, but woven into the very fabric of our societies, concealed by layers of denial, dressed as virtue? To peer into this abyss is to confront the unspeakable question: what do we sacrifice when we choose to live only in the light? Imagine a mirror cracked, reflecting not the self we cherish, but fractured shards of what we hide. Each shard is a secret pact, a collective repression, where shadows grow not in isolation but through silent agreement. Could it be that the true prison is not made of iron bars, but forged from our own complicit silence? And if these shadows bleed through the cracks, what chaos might they unleash upon the order we so desperately cling to? The tension coils between what we show and what we bury, waiting for a tremor to rupture the surface. Societies, like great beasts, wear masks stitched from myths of progress and morality, yet beneath these masks churn primordial currents of rage, envy, and cruelty, elements denied but never extinguished. What if our brightest ideals are but the sharpest blades that sever us from our own darkness, leaving a wound that festers in hidden places? When the crowd turns its gaze away, what monsters stir in the depths, hungry for acknowledgement? The question haunts us: is repression the source of strength or the seed of inevitable decay? Listen closely to the silence between words, to the unspoken tensions that throb beneath every celebration of light. There is a riddle here, folded into the collective heartbeat, a paradox that gnaws at the foundation of our beliefs. Can a society truly flourish while blind to its own shadow, or is this blindness the harbinger of its demise? To ask is to awaken a restless spirit within, a flicker of doubt that will not settle until the shadow is met, not with fear, but with fierce recognition. This moment you inhabit now, poised on the edge of revelation, is no mere coincidence. The shadow beckons not as a threat, but as a guide, a key to unlock the deeper cipher of existence. Will you turn away, or will you embrace the darkness as a hidden half of your truth? The path ahead is neither safe nor certain. It demands the courage to unlearn, to see beneath the veil. And in this daring act, the shadow ceases to be a curse, becoming instead the crucible of transformation. In the quiet corridors of the collective mind, where daylight dares not linger, the shadow coils, an ancient serpent of untold histories and buried sorrows, pulsating beneath the polished veneer of shared reality. This shadow is no mere specter of fear. It is the unspoken language of all that we have cast aside, the chorus of silenced rage and forbidden longing that thrums beneath the surface. Have you ever felt, in the depths of your solitude, the unsettling pulse of something unnamed, an ache that whispers of truths too vast, too dark to be uttered? That pulse is a shadow calling, a reminder that beneath every polished stone lies a raw and fractured earth, waiting to be reclaimed. It is here, in this uneasy communion between what we display and what we hide, that the true story begins, a narrative of repression, not as absence but as presence, a force that shapes us with the weight of its invisibility. Each society, like a living organism, breathes in dual rhythms, the visible and the repressed, the proclaimed and the forbidden. This duality is not a fault to be corrected, but a wound that breathes life into the collective spirit, a wound that festers in silence until it demands its reckoning. What do we lose when we sever ourselves from the darkness within? Is it merely an act of self-preservation or a slow unraveling of our deepest humanity? The shadow is a mirror shattered into countless reflections, each fragment revealing a piece of a whole we refuse to face. When the crowd chants for light, do they realize they also call for the obliteration of their own complexity? And in this denial, how much of our raw, trembling vitality is strangled beneath layers of social masks? The tension tightens here, as the fragile dance between control and chaos trembles on the edge of eruption, a silent symphony conducted by the unacknowledged. To live within this repression is to carry an invisible burden, a tension that gnaws from within, like a slow poison dissolving the boundary between what we are and what we pretend to be. It is the ache of the unspoken, the fever of desires locked away in cold cells of conformity. How often have you felt the tremor of this divide, between your own shadow and the face you show the world? That rift is not unique, but a collective fracture, mirrored in the faces of millions who wear the same masks and dance the same lies. And yet, in this shared fracture lies a hidden power, the possibility that beneath repression's heavy shroud lies a seed of transformation. What if the shadow, rather than a curse, is the crucible in which the raw elements of our true selves are forged? To recognize this is to step onto a precipice where fear and desire entwine, where the unknown is not a threat, but an invitation to rebirth. The silence between our words, the spaces we refuse to fill, echo louder than any spoken truth. There, in that pregnant void, the shadow gathers strength, calling forth the parts of ourselves and our societies that we deny at our peril. Can a society flourish while its heart beats in denial? Or does this denial plant the seed of its eventual decay, a slow rot disguised as order? These questions linger like specters in the night, refusing to be silenced, demanding that we listen with more than ears, listen with the trembling of our being. To confront the shadow is to embrace paradox, the coexistence of beauty and horror, strength and fragility, creation and destruction. It is a dance on a razor's edge where every step forward is also a step into the unknown, a surrender to the deeper rhythms that govern our existence. And so, you stand now at this threshold, the weight of the unspoken pressing upon your chest, the murmur of the shadow alive within your veins. This is not a moment for retreat, but a call to courage, a summons to dive deeper into the labyrinth where light and darkness weave an inseparable tapestry. The journey demands not just seeing but unseeing, not just knowing but unknowing, the unraveling of every certainty to reveal the hidden architecture beneath. Will you turn away to the comfort of ignorance, or will you embrace the shadow as the crucible of your becoming? In that embrace lies the possibility of transformation, the alchemy of shadow into light, of fragmentation into wholeness. The path is treacherous and uncertain, yet it beckons with a promise that beyond the veil of repression, a more profound truth waits to be born, a truth that shakes the foundations of your world and quietly, irrevocably sets you free. In the dimming light of this shared journey, a quiet resonance lingers, like the fading chords of a symphony that refuses to dissolve into silence. Here, the shadow no longer hides, but hums beneath the skin of perception, a subtle pulse that reawakens dormant questions and unsettles comfortable certainties. It is in this trembling space between knowing and unknowing that transformation begins, not as a violent rupture, but as a slow, unyielding unraveling of veils that once cloaked the soul. What was once buried now breathes softly in the contours of your awareness, inviting a gaze that sees beyond the surface, beyond the easy light. The shadows we carry are not chains but keys, and in their depths, a fragile freedom is born. This moment, poised between dusk and dawn, asks of you not answers but a silent reckoning, a readiness to sit with complexity, to embrace the paradox of light entwined with darkness. What if the very resistance you feel is the whisper of a deeper truth, calling you toward a horizon not yet glimpsed? To hold this tension is to dance with the infinite, to recognize that every ending folds into a beginning. Every fracture holds the promise of wholeness. The journey does not conclude here. It reverberates in the quiet chambers of the heart, echoing like footsteps on an ancient path whose destination is not a place, but becoming. Remember that the societies we inhabit mirror the shadows within us, and as these shadows awaken, so too does the possibility of collective renewal. The mask of repression cracks, and through its fissure spills the raw, untamed essence of what it means to be human, vulnerable, fierce, flawed, and radiant. This awakening is neither gentle nor immediate, but is inevitable for those who dare to look. Within the depths of the unspoken lies a sacred fire, waiting to kindle the courage to transform fear into wisdom, silence into voice, and darkness into light. It is here that the true alchemy unfolds, quietly, irreversibly, beneath the surface of ordinary days. Let this whisper settle deep within your bones, a seed planted in the fertile ground of reflection. What will you nurture from this shadow's gift? Will you allow it to deepen your understanding, to soften your judgments, to expand your empathy? The invitation is not to mastery over darkness, but to an intimate dance with its truths, an embrace of the whole self, fractured and shining. In this acceptance, the shadow becomes less a burden and more a sacred companion on the path toward authenticity. And as this realization dawns, a profound shift occurs. The shadow no longer haunts but guides, a silent testament to the depths we all share. If the echo of this truth stirs something within, do not let it fade into the noise of the everyday. Let your voice join the murmuring chorus, like ripples cast upon a still lake, subtle yet unstoppable. Share this moment. Speak your reflections, and subscribe not as a passive witness, but as a fellow traveler awakened. In doing so, you become part of a greater unfolding, a collective breath drawn in unison towards something new and necessary. The shadow has spoken. The question now is yours to carry. How will you walk forward into the light it reveals?